So the goal of this learning target says I can solve linear equations and inequalities in one variable. The one variable is meaning that there's only one variable. You're not seeing two different types of variables that you've got to solve for. Like in this one, they're both a's, so that those can combine and become one variable there. All right, so I'm going to work through number one here. And we've got an inequality sign, and so we need to be thinking about that as we're solving that, what's happening to that inequality sign. First thing before I can solve this, I really need to factor that or distribute this -6 and simplify it. So I've got -6. I'm going to multiply that by 6b, and that's going to give me -36b. And I've got -7, and I'm multiplying that by, I've got -6 times -7, so that's going to give me a positive, and that's going to be plus 42. And I'm just going to bring down my signs that I have and what I have over here. And then I'm going to draw down my line, knowing that what I do to one side, I'm going to do to the other, and that I've got a positive 42 over here. I want to bring it over here because my goal is isolating that b. So I'm going to subtract 42. I'm going to subtract 42, cancels that out, and I am left with here -36b, and I've got -138 plus, -38, and I'm going to take away 42 more, so that is -180. And then the last step I'm going to be doing is dividing by that -36 to isolate out that b. -36 divided by 36 is 0. And that gives me -36 over here. And that gives me a positive 5. -180 divided by -36 gives me a positive 5. I've got a b over here. But remember, when we divided by a negative, what ended up happening was the sign here is going to flip. So your answer is going to look like this. 5 is less than or equal to b, right? And you want to be substituting that value back in and checking your answer to make sure that you're correct. So as you guys were working through these and you were complete, you could have gone back and checked your work there. And so going back there and saying -138 is going to be less or greater than or equal to -6 parentheses 6 times 5 minus 7. Okay? So working through that, and as we do that, just simplifying what's going on this side. I've got 6 times 5, that's going to be 30, and I've got 30 minus 7, and that's going to be 23, so I end up with -6 times 23, because what I just did was all of that. That's right there. And so then I've got 6 times 23, and I get -138. And that should equal my other side there. And what I've got showing up there is that is a true statement. So yes, my answer is correct there. Okay, moving on the next one. Drawing a line down the equal sign, I've got variables on both sides. I've got numbers on both sides. So I'm going to start by subtracting a so that I can get that a off my left side, and I can only have it on one side. That leaves me with -6 is equal to 15 plus 7a, because 8 minus a is 7a. I'm going to subtract 15 here. I'm going to subtract 15 here. What I'm left with is now 7a. I've got 15 and 6. They are both negatives, so I'm going to get farther into the negatives. So that's going to give me a -21. And then I'm going to be dividing by 7. And I end up with a, there's my a, and that equals -3. And you'd go back in and you would check that as well. I'm not going to do that here, but I do expect that you're doing that and that you're seeing that, in fact, that -3, when you put that in, is a true statement there. Okay, one more. I've got -6 minus 4. P is greater than -10. I'm going to draw a line down the equal sign, and I'm trying to isolate that P. So what I've got there is adding out 6, cancels that out. I end up with -4p is greater than -10 plus 6 is going to give me -4. Then going to be dividing by -4, and p, and -4 divided by -4 is 1. And what happens to the sign when I divide by a negative? Sorry for my I'm losing focus here. There we go. What happens to my sign when I divide by negative is it flips. So P has to be less than 1 as our answer, and you would be substituting that back in, putting in 1 here, and seeing if that is a true statement.